Hey everybody, I'm back today with another contest video. Contests are coming in fast and furious. This time it's for Roberts on the Turntable, one of the great guys of the community. Fantastic. He's from Ontario, Canada. One of the nicest people on the in the vinyl community, as far as I'm concerned. Very pleasant, very soft-spoken, mellow. His videos are at such a leisurely pace. He has his coffee, and you just feel welcome every time you watch him. So, Robert, I'm going to make the video for the contest here. What he wants us to do is it's called band changes. So we're going to do 5 bands and talk about the history of the band, the changes of the band, and which configuration you prefer. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to kick it off with a band, Chicago Transit Authority, or Chicago as they're known today. This album came out in 1969. Chicago had the audacity to go double album, debut, double album, next time out. So their first 2 albums in 69 and 70 were both double albums. They're both outstanding as far as I'm concerned. They're a 7-man band, a brass section, which was unusual, had the jazz rock element that set them apart from a lot of bands. I mean, you had Blood, Sweat, and Tears at that time, but Chicago has a signature sound, or did at that time, and I was into it. You have your 3-man brass section of Jimmy Pankow, Walter Parazita, and Lee Loughnane, and your singers or guitarist Terry Kath, one of the great guitarists of the rock era, Robert Lamm on keyboards, and of course Peter Cetera on bass. Those 3 were key songwriters who shared what's the word I'm looking for? Who shared vocal duties. Easy enough. And, of course, drummer Danny Seraphine. So those are the 7 original members of Chicago. And they carried on that way through 1977. They did 11 albums together. And they were going fine. Putting out great material for the most part. They put this greatest hits out in, I guess it was 75 or 6, and it's just all the tunes that you would hear at that time on the radio. 25 or 6 to 4, Make Me Smile, Does Anybody Know What Time It Is, Color My World, a ballad, Saturday in the Park, Feeling Stronger Every Day, I've Been Searching for So Long, Beginnings, Make Me Smile, all the greats of that time. And there's some deep cuts that are not included here that are on the albums too, like Question 67 and 68 is a great song, and I'm a Man, Dialogue, so on and so forth. They put out some really good songs. And then, unfortunately, their great guitarist and founding member, Terry Kath, is fooling around with a loaded gun and killed himself in early January 1978. So changes ensued. They brought in a guy named Donnie Dacus for a couple of albums, and down they went. Decline of the band in a lot of people's eyes. Then they changed gears. Peter Cetera was really their main focal point. They started singing a lot of syrupy ballads, which turned off a lot of the original Chicago fans. So, needless to say, my favorite formation of the band, or consist of the band, would be the original 11 albums, starting with those first 2 or 3, which were just fantastic. So that's Chicago. Next up, this isn't truly a band, but it's a group, and I'm going to take a shot and hope it's fair game. It's the Temptations, great Motown band, my favorite Motown band from the 60s and into the 70s. And that consisted of dual lead singers, Eddie Kendricks and David Ruffin. You have Melvin Franklin, Otis Williams, and Paul Williams. Those are your 5 Temps. And they started making tunes in the early 60s. They hit it big with My Girl in 64. Some great songs like Get Ready, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Beauty's Only Skin Deep, I Know I'm Losing You, All I Need, You're My Everything, Loneliness has made me realize it's you that I need, on and on and on. I Wish It Would Rain, which is a fantastic song. Then there was some dissension in the band. David Ruffin wanted his own solo career, so he's out in 68. They bring in a guy named Dennis Franklin, who's a real good singer. Dennis Edwards, who was took on lead vocals along with Eddie Kendricks. And Dennis Edwards had sang lead on songs like Cloud 9, Can't Get Next to You, Psychedelic Shack. It's a good period of the band. They had some a change. There's more topical songs that they were getting into, away from the love songs and more into what was going on in the world, in the black community especially. You still had Eddie Kendricks there singing Just My Imagination, fantastic song. And of course they had a hit with Papa Was a Rolling Stone. And then Kendricks leaves and they bring in Richard Street. So now it's 3 of the original members are left, and they carry on to the 70s, and their career starts tapering off. They're still touring, of course, but their album sales, music changed in the 70s, so the Motown sound was sort of dissipating a little bit. Some new soul and R&B acts were coming in, like the OJs and the Spinners and the Stylistics, and on and on and on. So the Temps were sort of passé, more of an oldies act. But getting back to the point, the original band, the original 5 members, that is my favorite group of the Temptations here. Next up, we're going to do Fleetwood Mac, a British blues band from the late 60s. We got Peter Green as really the focal point of the group, guitarist, vocals. Jeremy Spencer, really a fantastic guitarist if you've ever heard his work. John McVie on bass and Mick Fleetwood on drums. They put out 3 albums in the late 60s. 1970, they released an album called Kiln House. Danny Kerwin is added to the band. He replaced Jeremy Spencer, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, had some kind of nervous breakdown, and he was out. They put out a couple of albums in 71 and 72. Future Games. There's the band on the back. And you can see there's now Christine McVie's been added to the band, and Bob Welch. And Bare Trees a year later. And of course this has Sentimental Lady, a good Bob Welch song, which he reprised later on his album French Kiss in 1977. Both versions are very good. In 73, they had Bob Weston, who replaced Danny Kerwin, an album called Penguin, which I do not own. Later in 73, Mystery to Me. Same group of folks in the band. Hypnotize was a key song on that album. 1974, Heroes Are Hard to Find, which is their 9th album. Bob Weston's out at that point. They're a 4-man band. Welch, the 2 McVies, Christine and John, and Mick Fleetwood. At that point, Mick Fleetwood runs into Lindsey Buckingham, and he wants him to join the band. Lindsey will only join if Stevie Nicks is involved. So in 75, they come out with the Fleetwood Mac self-titled, or the White Album as it's known. There's your 5-person band with, let me go over here, Stevie, Mick, Christine, Lindsey, and John McVie. This album, absolutely fantastic. 1970, Monday Morning, Warm Ways, Blue Letter, Rhiannon, big hit single, Over My Head. Crystal, Say You Love Me, a great Christine McVie tune. Landslide, the classic Stevie Nicks song. World Turning, Sugar Daddy, and I'm So Afraid. This is a dynamite album. And the next one, of course, went through the roof. That would be Rumors, 1977, the same 5 people. There's some great photos here. This, of course, was fraught with controversy because the band was going through some marital issues. Stevie and Lindsay were breaking up. The McVies were having marital issues as well. A nice little insert with the lyrics. Everybody seems happy and smiling there in the photo, but little did we know that there was all this tension and turmoil and infidelity and so on and so forth going on in the band. But Rumors, of course, sold a ridiculous amount of money, broke records at the time, and one of my favorite albums of all time. I did a top 50 list earlier in the year, and I put it number 2 on my all-time favorite album list, so it's highly thought of. Next up, an album that I'm not really a big fan of, and that's called Tusk. It's a double album, 1979. This is a divisive album, I think. A lot of Fleetwood Mac fans, like myself, wanted more of the same. The hit factory, the classic sound, and they changed it up big time here. They really took a chance here and switched things up. This is more adventurous. It's more daring. They're not resting on their laurels. It's different kind of music. I didn't like it. I like 4 or 5 of the songs, but that's about it. I know a lot of people think a lot of this album. I'm not one of them. Just being honest. After that, of course, the 80s come. They put out Mirage, Tango of the Night in 82 and 87, respectively, the same 5 people. And then after that, Lindsay leaves the band for a couple albums. Christine leaves the band for another album when Lindsay comes back. So it's in and out, revolving door. So, of course, I'm going to pick the best configuration of Fleetwood Mac, starting with that 5-album run. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, Tusk, Mirage, and Tango in the Night. Those 5 albums with Lindsay, Stevie, John McVie, Christine McVie, and Mick Fleetwood. That is the Fleetwood Mac that is the best, in my opinion. Next up, I'm going to go with the Eagles from Southern California. They start out as a 4-man band. This is sort of a folk country rock band to begin with. 4-man band being Glenn Frey, Don Henley, Bernie Leadon, and Randy Meisner. Those are your 4 original Eagles. Take It Easy, Witchy Woman are the big hit song. Peaceful Easy Feeling off this first album, which came out in 1972. They released Desperado a year later. You can see the 4 of them on the cover. It's sort of an outlaw motif. Desperado, decent album. Then comes On the Border in 1974. A little bit more rock to this particular album. Already Gone, James Dean, On the Border, the title track. Best of My Love was a ballad, cover of Old 55, a Tom Waits tune. So this is a step up. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Don Felder was at it for 1 or 2 songs that add some punch to the guitars. So he's in here a little bit, not every song. Then comes 1975's One of These Nights. Here they're a 5-man band. Randy Meisner on bass, Bernie Leadon, guitar, banjo. He added the most country and folk element to the band. Glenn Frey, lead singer and guitarist. Don Felder, more of a lead guitar guy, good instrumentalist. And, of course, Don Henley, drummer and lead vocalist. The main songwriters being Mr. Henley and Mr. Frey. They are the leaders of the band, and they write most of the songs, and they're good songwriters. So this is out in 75. This is an excellent album as well. And from here, Bernie Leadon leaves the band. They add Joe Walsh for Hotel California, 1976. This is the one that put him in the stratosphere, superstardom. Not only the title track, but this is a great album all the way through, with New Kid in Town, Life in the Fast Lane, Victim of Love, The Last Resort, Try and Love Again, Pretty Maids All in a Row. All these songs are great. So this is one of my favorite albums of all time, too. I know the Eagles take a lot of heat. They're not cool, and they sell too many records, and they're kind of standoffish, and whatever. Great band. Next up, Randy Meisner leaves the band. He's tired of singing Take It to the Limit all the time in the concerts, and he wants more to do, and he's out. Timothy B. Schmidt's in, and here comes The Long Run from 1979. This is really their last studio album for, 14, 15 years. And there's the band here, looking black and white, kind of a dark tone, and that there was more going on than we know about here. Timothy B. Schmidt, the bass player, contributed I Can't Tell You Why, which is a solid ballad. You have The Long Run. You have... what other tunes are on here? In the City by Joe Walsh, Disco Strangler, King of Hollywood, Heartache Tonight, Those Shoes, Teenage Jail, Greeks Don't Want No Freaks, which is a throwaway song, and of course, The Sad Cafe ends the record. So The Long Run. Now, which there you have in six albums, you have 4 different configurations of the band. Which one's the best? Well, for my money, it's this one, Hotel California. Not only do you have Joe Walsh and Don Felder, the double whammy guitarists, they're excellent, especially on stage together. They play off each other very well. They have their own styles, and I think they really they have their own styles, and it works very well. Fry, Henley, Meisner, Walsh, Felder. That's the best configuration of the Eagles. My last, 5th, and final choice, Lynyrd Skynyrd. 1973's pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, Southern rock band. Just amazing stuff on here. This is a great debut. Love this stuff. I Ain't the One, Tuesday's Gone, Give Me 3 Steps, Simple Man, Freebird. This was a 7-man band when they originated. You got, of course, Ronnie Van Zant, lead singer. Triple guitar action here with Alan Collins, Gary Rossington, and Ed King. The drummer's Bob Burns. The bass player is Leon Wilkeson, and the keyboard and piano is Billy Powell. Real strong band. Their second album's equally good, Second Helping. Of course, Sweet Home Alabama's on here. Don't Ask Me No Questions. It's Waldo. I can't read it because the print's messed up. But anyway, great band. Same 7 guys in this configuration. Then we go to their third album. And this one, of course, is called Nothing Fancy. This is a step down as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't have the classic Skynyrd sound. More of a bluesy type record. And by this time, Ed King... Is Ed King out of the band here? No, he's still in the band. They replaced the drummer. Artemis Pyle is in for Bob Burns. Bob Burns had some kind of either head injury or stage fright. There was something where he couldn't tour, so he was out. And Artemis Pyle was in. Then we go to Give Me Back My Bullets, 76. This time they are a 6-man band. Ed King quits, so they're left with 6 guys. And then finally, their last album with Ronnie Van Zant, 1977's Street Survivors. Now they're back to a 7-man band. They had Steve Gaines as a third guitarist to replace Ed King, who had quit a couple albums back. And of course, this is the one where they're in flames. This would be prophetic in a way, because they had that plane crash in October of '77. They lost Ronnie Van Zant, their lead singer, Steve Gaines, guitarist, and Cassie Gaines, his sister, as a backup vocalist. And others on the plane died as well. But those are the band members. Everybody was hurt, injured. This has What's Your Name, That Smell, One More Time, I Know a Little, You Got That Right. Really fantastic album. And then from there, they tried to pull it together. Johnny Van Zant replaced his brother on lead vocals, and, you know, it was okay, but they never really maintained the quality of songwriting that they had when Ronnie was alive. And so my favorite configuration, believe it or not, is going to be the first one. I like I like what Ed King added to the band. He wrote some of the songs, even though, you know, Steve Gaines died and he was an integral part of the band. I'm going to go with this first part of Lynyrd Skynyrd, the first 3-4 years where you had Ed King as a member and Bob Burns. So there you go. Great idea for a contest. Thanks again to Robert. Robert's on my turntable. Great channel. If you haven't subscribed to him yet, please do. I think you'll find it's well worth it. He brings a lot to the VC, and everybody that watches his channel really loves his videos. Thanks, Robert, and thanks everybody else for watching. Take care. Bye.